Ancient technology. I just wanted to just make a quick announcement about the fact that I'm writing some books, and this is one of the first ones for. I mean, I wrote other books, but for other topics and subjects, but this is the first for ancient technology, and that I'm writing, and it's how to build the Great Pyramid. That's the thing a lot of people want to know about, or I see it so many times. People saying that nobody knows how the Great Pyramid was created, blah blah blah. So that's why they have all types of random speculations, and a lot of people like having theories like, "Oh, aliens made it." This, that. There's like, not really. I mean, it'd be cool to say aliens made the pyramids, but the pyramids are not really that awesomely built for the to be aliens, right? You expect it to be cooler than that. You expect that at least the pyramid wouldn't be built; it'd be grown, like it'd be 3D printed, basically, like, and it'll be made of like some crystal or some stuff. Like they would have figured out a way to build things out of crystal, so it would look more like the Fortress of Solitude from like Superman or something. Have you ever seen, Christopher Reeve Superman, where he had the crystal and he put the crystal in the snow, and then it turned into a big, you know, crystal castle, basically, right? A big fortress, right, of crystal. So it's like if aliens created pyramids, it would be made of crystals. You can say, oh, there's granite has crystals in it, right? Quartz crystal in it. Like, yeah, but it's still granite, right? It's still a rock, right? With a little bit of crystals in it. Yes, technically a little crystals, but you get the idea. So it's just a funny thing to think, oh, aliens made it. It's like, more likely humans made it. That's my belief that humans made it. My other belief is that Egyptians weren't the ones who made it. It was a different group. Definitely wasn't the Egyptians with the old pharaoh belief system, right? It was pre-Egyptians. Let me put it that way, because it could still be Egyptians, right? Because the pyramids are in Egypt, but there was a time where it wasn't called Egypt, so you can go with the whole Kemet thing and before that. So the point I'm making is that the Great Pyramid, among many other structures in Egypt, are older than you think, and so they're definitely not tombs, among other factors. So this book is not going to be talking about like, the pyramid not being a tomb. That'd be something else. That'd be later on. Uh, right now, this is just about construction, just building the pyramids. The fact that some people still don't know how the pyramids are built, and I'm like, oh, I know how it's built. It's pretty simple concept. I always make the jokes. It's like, they just stacked a whole bunch of rocks on top of each other. It's not a mystery. They stacked rocks on top of each other. But the thing is, once you start looking into the size and the weight of the rocks, right, of the stones, the blocks, which is limestone, by the way. There are some granite in there, but it's mostly limestone. And it's like, okay, um, how did they stack it? Because the stones aren't light, right? Even though, yes, the closer to the top of the pyramid you get, the blocks are lighter, like because they're smaller, so they're lighter weight. But the bottom blocks are bigger, heavier, and then you get to the lighter. But then there's a couple points halfway in the middle of the structure, right? There are some big, heavy blocks, um, like 70-ton blocks of granite and stuff like that. So it's like, okay, there are some big, giant, and heavy blocks in the pyramid as opposed to like the outside per se. So that's a factor. Plus, we don't fully have the internal aspect of the pyramid, fully uh, confirmed. We do have some information of there's some empty spaces with rubble in it, and then there's some empty spaces. Period. So that does reduce the fact that the whole pyramid is like a solid structure. So there's some hollow aspects to the structure that makes building it even faster and easier. Um, and many other things, like even I've questioned some stuff where I'm like, um, if they can lift a 70-ton block, why wasn't the pyramid only built with a whole bunch of 70-ton blocks? That's the real question right there. Because most people are like, oh, how did they lift that 70-ton block? It's like, well, not every block in the pyramid is 70 tons. Only a couple of them are. So, yes, the answer to that is The question is like, yeah, how did they do it? Well, one way is literally using the pyramid itself to lift it up, right? You'll put the block on top of the first base, right? The first layer of the pyramid. Then you will lift it up a little bit and start putting blocks under the 70-ton block, right? To lift it up one layer higher, and then build the second layer. Now you'll now you'll be on top of the second layer, right? With the 70-ton block. Lift that up and build a third layer under. You keep doing that process over again. So you slowly are building a ladder, so to speak, or you're building something, the pyramid, to lift up the block. So you're using the pyramid itself to lift 7-ton blocks. So that's the simple way of doing it without cranes or all this. Well, I mean, you still technically have need like some cranes or some way of lifting the block up, obviously. But just you don't have to lift it all the way up. You don't have to lift because people always say, "How you get 70-ton blocks 100 feet in the air?" It's like you don't. You just need to get the block, let's say 3 feet off the ground. 3 feet. 70-ton block, 3 feet off the ground or off a flat surface, right? Is easier than 100 feet in the air. That's how. You don't lift it 100 feet in the air. So then it's like, again, back to the idea, it's like, why didn't they just use a whole bunch of 70-ton blocks? Because that would have made manufacturing the pyramid faster, right? Because if you use a whole bunch of blocks, they're relatively the same size, right? You can stack them and you can build a structure really fast. So that's something I'm currently thinking about right now. I'm like, why, if they can move one 70-ton block, why didn't they move a whole bunch of them and then build a pyramid that way? Because it would have been faster. I'm just thinking of the whole work smarter, not harder. If you can lift 70 tons, why not just only lift 70 tons? Why do you have all these smaller things? So that's something I'll look into. Uh, brainstorming, like, why did they do that? Why did they use less 70-ton blocks than, why did they use less when they could have used more? Um, what else? But the idea of like materials they use, the technology, the tools, right? Technology, of course, and stuff like that. So there'll be power sources. So I'm working on all of the power sources. So there's going to be a good amount of information, of tools, materials, and the most important thing is the stacking. It's like, okay, we understand they use blocks, big heavy blocks. We understand they use limestone. We understand they stacked it right in a pyramid shape, but how? Like, what's the order? How they did it? So a little hint. I'm still working on it, by the way. Even I don't fully have it figured out, but I have a concept right now that's kind of working. Ironically, it's based off of how ants build their ant hills. More likely is where ancient humans got the idea for pyramids was from ants building ant hills. So I was looking at some videos, time lapse of ants building ant hills, and they start from the middle and work their way up. So they just slowly start stacking. They basically create a small pyramid, and then they build another pyramid on top of it, basically. So they just add layers to that small little stack. It's not that different when you take a whole bunch of sand, right? And you clump the sand together, then you grab some more sand, and you clump it, you keep doing it until you make a big thing. So it's not that different from building a sandcastle, right, or building a pyramid out of sand. You're just gonna stack the stand on top of each other. So it's just like making an anthill. So it's like, okay, so the pyramid's gonna need a core, right? It's gonna need something that goes up. So then it's the idea of the base of the pyramid determines the height. So right in the center of the pyramid, you need to start creating a tower, right? Something that goes straight up, and then build out from there and slowly build a smaller pyramid, and then expand that smaller pyramid until you get to the big giant pyramid. And that's how you'll. So I have to obviously fine tune the exact order pattern that you need to do. And that's the thing, is just figuring out the exact pattern in which you're going to build the pyramids, especially without alien spaceships or giant robots or cranes and all this extra stuff, or levitation technology or whatnot. To build the pyramid, I have to find, obviously, how can it be done without going that extreme, right? right? What is the most simplest, basic method can you use to build a Great Pyramid? Um, I even had like a small theory that I'm still working on. Just just things that I'm thinking about building the like the idea of an elevator, like an elevator outside. So basically, an elevator that stands on the outside. I make a video about that eventually about the idea of an elevator or elevators, maybe more than one, on all four corners, right? Four sides of the pyramid, and that's how you'll lift things up, right? So you lift up, move forward, right? Up, forward, um, and that's how you can get the blocks and stack them on top of the Great Pyramid or any pyramid structure. Is that you'll be using like some elevator type shafts that you create going upwards. Basically, you create four towers around the the pyramid, and then use those four towers to lift the blocks and put them on top, and that's how you'll do it. So it's like some elevator crane combo. So it's basically a crane on an elevator. So the elevator will go up, lifting up the heavy thing, and then there'll be a crane basically moving it off the elevator and moving it onto to the top, to the layer that you're working on, and build a pyramid that way. So just a matter of trying to figure out how to prove that. Ironically, so far, the Great Pyramid has some stuff that I've seen, and I will make a video about it, that pretty much looks like, oh, that kind of looks like the elevator. And those look like places where there'll be big giant wheels, like water wheels, and those will be used for like, as a rope, and that will be, used to lift up an elevator. So there looks like there's three slots. They're called, they said they're like boat pits, but I'm like, I don't think those are boat pits. I think those have giant wheels on it, like pulley wheels and stuff, like water wheels, right? Big pulley wheels, and it was used to help lift the blocks up on a tower, because those boats, quote unquote boat pits, are around. Like I said, I'll make a video about it and I'll talk more about it later. No point in talking about it right now. The idea was just to talk about this book that I'm working on. It's gonna be, I'm gonna try to put as much information as I can, technology wise. That's the main thing, like technology that will be required to build the pyramids, and then of course the process of building the pyramid.